to see all that. Hey everybody, welcome back. We are here for chapter 4 of Scouts. By now it's not really so much of a new book anymore, but just the book that we're going through. Some of you have reached out to me with like comments about it, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this, or I can't wait to see what happens in the next chapter. And that's been really exciting for me because I'm like, oh, they're actually reading or like listening to my video. So that's awesome. Let's go ahead and start chapter 4. Side by side we stand, looking down into the moonlit river as it churns and crashes over boulders. We all glance up the river, then down, then to the other side. That has to be at least 20 feet across. Why do we have to be in the rapid section? I grumble. Finn gives me a nudge. Rocky brought rope. We'll pull you across if we have to. Why? Scarlet asks. Are you afraid of water? Yes. I don't tell her that though. Of course, Rocky decides to volunteer the information. Annie almost drowned when we were 6. My sister saved her. I saved someone once. Scarlet starts in, and I promptly tune her out as I stare down at the water. Maybe we can walk the length of the river until we find a narrower place to cross. Beans throws his stuff down. It's too dark. Let's camp here. We'll find a place to cross in the morning. Rocky tosses his stuff down too. Good idea. Plus, I'm hungry. Me too, says Finn. Shouldn't we ration food? This from Scarlet, at which we all scoff. Finn dives into his backpack and pulls out a Tupperware. Annie, he says, waving the container at me. Brought the cookies we made. Oh, yay. My mouth waters just thinking about the chocolate and peanut butter combination. He opens a container, grabs a couple, then sets it down and we all dive in. This is one of the things I love about Finn, his baking. Rocky and Beans aren't into it at all, but I love helping Finn in the kitchen. 2 weeks ago we made our very first coconut cake. Finn's mom is always joking that one day we're going to open a bakery, and who knows, maybe Finn will. But I'm not sure I like baking enough to do it for a job. As he swallows one of Finn's cookies, Beans goes into his own backpack and pulls out snack bags of wheat crackers, almonds, and dried apples. He's the only kid I know who actually likes eating the healthy stuff his mom packs. You could have thought of us, Rocky jokingly gripes. With a grin, Beans shoves a few crackers into his mouth. Fine. More for me. Finn cringes at Beans' food. The least you could do is use your big allowance to buy stuff we'll like too. Beans' smile fades, and I shoot Finn a look. He picks the worst times to be all snarky. Beans nudges his food away, unrolls his sleeping bag and slides inside. He turns his back on us and gets real still. I know he's not sleeping. Finn tosses a twig at Beans' head. Hey! But when Beans grabs the stick off his head and chucks it away, Finn just shrugs and says, Drama. Finn has no clue what's going on with Beans, but I still defend him. You know, you're one to talk, Finn. At least the rest of us don't need to bring 80 billion different medicines on every trip. Talk about drama. Finn doesn't have a comeback. He just stares at me while I stare back. And the more we stare, the more challenging and awkward the whole thing becomes. I was trying to defend Beans, and now I've managed to hurt Finn's feelings. I should probably tell him I'm sorry. Rocky looks between us. Okay, change of topic. How about a drink? Anyone have anything? Slowly, Finn drags his eyes off of me as he digs around his backpack. I glance back at Beans. I hope he tells them what's going on, because I don't want to repeat what just happened. Finn pulls a Capri Sun out and tosses it to Rocky, and he drinks it down in one long draw. Dipstick. Finn throws his hands up. Greedy much? Rocky sucks even harder on the straw, making that end of the line gurgling sound. Finn grabs another juice from his pack and makes a big show of drinking the whole thing too. Rocky makes a grab for the pouch and Finn dodges, and they both wrestle around for a few seconds. Despite just being irritated with Finn, I can't help but smile at the two of them as I glance over to Scarlet to see her smiling too. Eventually, they stop with the juice war, and Finn tosses his empty Capri Sun at me. I toss it back, and we make faces at each other. And that's our way of apologizing. So what's everyone doing this summer? Scarlet asks. Football camp, Rocky answers. Vacation Bible school, Finn says. Beans doesn't answer, so I nod his way and answer for him. Science camp. When Mom gets back from her honeymoon, Scarlett tells us, we're moving into a new house. Then I'm going with a bunch of my friends to camp. She looks at me. What about you? My parents usually plan some sort of summer trip, I shrug. Not sure. Dad mentioned Niagara Falls or something. Nothing with your friends? Scarlett asks. I wave my hand around. You're looking at 'em, I say. And for the first time ever, I realize that they all have other friends and I don't. It didn't used to be this way. We were one another's only friends. But over the past year, that's been changing. Rocky's got his football pals, Beans has his science friends, and Finn's been getting more involved in his church youth group. I don't know. I could probably find some group to do something with, but I don't want to. I like what I've got here. Rocky goes about unzipping his sleeping bag, and the rest of us follow, slipping into ours. Snuggling down, I listen as Beans, always the first to fall asleep, begins breathing deeply. I hope he feels better in the morning. My thoughts begin to rewind, and I get a little bummed thinking about my friends, and the other friends that they have and I don't. What will things be like a year from now? Will they still want to do scout things like this with me? I roll my eyes. Of course they will. I'm being ridiculous. With a sigh, I make myself not think about that and instead tune into my surroundings as night settles in. I listen to the river and the crickets and a lone owl hooting. I wonder if we're still on Bassinger's property. If not, then whose is it? And where exactly does the Mason Mountain clan live? Not that I really believe they exist, but if I did, I glance around. Where would they be? Finn swats his skin, and I hear him squirting his bug repellent again. How did you guys become friends? Scarlett whispers from beside me. I think about kindergarten and how I met them pretty much the first day. We were learning to tie laces on our own shoes and then practicing on one another's. I caught the three of them tying a couple of kids' shoes together, and I jumped right in. We've been inseparables ever since. But I don't tell Scarlett that story, or any of the other crazy stuff we've done because they're my friends, and I don't want to share them with anyone else. I don't say anything at all, hoping that she'll think I'm asleep. It's so cool you all are friends, she quietly says. I don't have anything like this. I mean, I have friends, but none of them would ever do something like this with me. Her words replay a few times in my head, and with each time, I feel worse and worse. I've been kind of mean to her. Sounds like she might be lonely. Like her friends may be the fake kind. The kind where you're nice to one another's face but mean behind your backs. Yeah, she whispers. This is really great. Gradually, everyone falls asleep, and as usual, I lie awake. I'm a night owl, as Dad says. My internal clock just won't turn off, which makes getting up for school really crappy. Why can't school start at, say, noon? Rolling over, I close my eyes and thoughts zip and zing everywhere. The last day of school, upcoming 7th grade, the summer ahead, this adventure, the river. I sigh. Why couldn't we have hiked up to a nice, calm, shallow place to cross? Maybe I should get my flashlight and stroll down the bank a bit, see if there's a better place to cross. I slide out of my sleeping bag to do just that and catch sight of Rocky sitting over near the river's edge. He looks so sad, so lonely, so different than earlier wrestling with Finn. Quietly, I approach and sit behind him. Nope. Quietly, I approach and sit down beside him. Hey! He gives a little smile and goes back to looking at the river. I don't say anything and just hang beside him as he stares into the dark water as it swirls around and over the boulders. The river really is pretty, especially in the moonlight. Remember all those rafting trips we took when my mom was still alive? He asked. I smile. His mom was the greatest. This tiny Vietnamese woman with a big snorty laugh. With Rocky's hulking huge dad, the two of them always looked so funny. Yeah, I answered. I miss your mom. He sighs. I do too. Rocky never talks about his mom, and so I'm not quite sure what to say. I know he misses her. Of course he misses her. And I know this has got to be the #1 reason why he's not happy about his dad dating Finn's mom. If they get married, Rocky will have a new mom, and he doesn't want that. I get it. We used to tie like a dozen life jackets on you, Rocky says jokingly, and you still wouldn't get out of the raft. It wasn't a dozen, I laugh with him. It was probably close to a dozen. A few seconds go by as our laughter slowly dies, and we both go back to looking at the water. Can't believe my dad is dating someone, he murmurs with such sadness in his tone that my heart twinges. At least Finn's mom is nice, I say. Yeah, so nice that she's been married twice before. I hadn't thought about that. But is that what's really bothering him then? I don't know, but I'd try a different tactic. If they get married, you would be stepbrothers. Finn's one of your best friends. Rocky doesn't answer and instead lies down in the grass and curls up on his side. I think I might stay here for a little bit. I think about his mother's funeral and what my mom said. Holding my hand, Mom led me across the cemetery. We stopped walking a few feet from the scouts, and she gave my hand a gentle squeeze. Just be there for him, she quietly told me. With a shaky breath, I stepped up beside them all, and Finn looked over at me first, then Beans, and we three exchanged a silent look. Rocky just stared down at his mother's fresh grave. Kneeling, I placed the daisies I'd picked next to the other flowers already there. Daisies were his mom's favorite. Then I got back up, and the four of us stood quietly side by side, waiting for Rocky to decide when we would leave. It was the first time I can remember being together and never saying a word. Just be there for him. That's what Mom said. So that's what I do as I lie down facing Rocky. I'll hang with you, I tell him. He smiles a little. Thanks, Annie. And then he reaches out and does something he's never done before. He takes and holds my hand. The end. So that's the end of chapter 4. Getting a little bit of that emotional side of getting to know the characters, and even getting to know maybe why Rocky's hesitant to his dad's dating someone, even though it's like his best friend's mom, right? And it's usually like a kid's dream, like if your mom and my dad get together, then we'll be brother and sister, or we'll be sisters, we'll be brothers, whatever, and it'll be the greatest. But for him, it's not so much of an exciting thing because that's still a great loss for him. So we're going to continue to explore that in the next chapters and the rest of the characters, and some excitement that's to come in the next chapter. So I will see you there on Monday. That's it. Have a great weekend.